All right. Hello.
Hi.
So on this episode of Voices in Science, we have Dr. Adriana and Dr. Adriana Estefania Flores-Moran. She was born in Mexico City, but grew up in Michoacan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Yes. State, Mexico. She spent part of her childhood surrounded by cards and good talks because her parents worked in the post office. She bikes everywhere and she loves to play guitar and read her sci-fi books. Adriana has 3 beautiful and very active kids, 1 dog, and 2 guinea pigs. Now she's training as an emergency pedagogue with an aim of accompanying people in crisis situations. As a veterinarian, my apologies. She was very interested in wildlife medicine, and as a master's and PhD student, she focuses on marine mammals research. Currently, she's a postdoc researcher at Centro de Investigación and Alimentación y Desarrollo, Mexico, focusing on the impact of pollution on California sea lions. So, with that amazing introduction, Dr. Adriana, yeah, can you please just summarize your journey or your contributions in science?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I
Yes.
really appreciate the invitation. So, since 2011, I've been contributing to the science, and I participate in other projects. But I would like to talk about one in specific that I did it during my PhD. So, where I could find similarities in development of California sea lions, pups, and other terrestrial mammals such as humans. And also I could evaluate how hostile environments can impact the way California sea lion females or moms impact their way they take care of their pups. So
Yeah.
For the first part, we established baseline hematology data for California sea lion pups during their early development. So I worked with a free living population of California sea lions into the Gulf of California and Mexico during 2011 to 2012. So I analyzed the numbers and morphology of blood cells and leukocytes, erythrocytes, and platelets. So at different stages of development of their pups. So what we found was that at birth, there's a great variations in numbers and in morphology of those cells, which decrease with the age. And this is so similar in, for example, human newborns that at the beginning, at birth, also showed a great variation in those numbers and in shape of those cells. But also, we found that at 5-month-old, pup exhibit a higher numbers particularly in erythrocytes, exhibit some of atypical shapes, but related to nutritional deficiencies. So, such as vitamin B12, iron, and folates. So this could reflect a critical period or a vulnerable period during their early development. So in humans, also in babies, there's also a similar process called physiological anemia. And this kind of anemia is totally like part of their physiological process. And it's solved by its own just when the baby receives the essential nutrients. So, but this is also a critical period during their development. And at this point, we could see what happened with the blood cells during a normal climate event, during normal years, during nothing happened, like nothing extraordinary happens. But during 2013, an increase of sea surface temperature was recorded in Gulf of Alaska. And this increase of the sea surface temperature was known as the blob. And the blob expanded rapidly in Northeast Pacific coast. And by 2015, the blob occurred simultaneously with El Niño event. So in 2015, 2015 was the warmest sea surface temperature. So during this anomalous climate event, the primary productivity is altered. And this alteration decreased or reduced the fish abundance and increased the marine mammal stranding events. And we want to evaluate the impact of this kind of event on the physiological aspect in pups. So for this part of the project, we worked in San Benito Archipelago. There is a breeding site for California sea lions in the Mexican Pacific coast in Baja California, Mexico. And for females, it's this is the way that they procure prey is it's like they do something that we call like foraging trips. That is, they procure prey less than 100 kilometers from their breeding site, and when this anomalous climate event occurred, they have two options. So they can just they can feed like a prey with a lower energetic value, or extending their foraging trips. But in both scenarios, the physiological aspect on the pups will be affected. So for pups in 2000, for pups born during 2014 and 2015, we observed that the body condition decreased, and as well as the capacity of their immune response to a specific antigen. And also we found that an increase of atypical morphologies of erythrocytes related to nutritional deficiencies. But in addition, we could found that the response to particularly these atypical morphologies of erythrocytes decrease. And this is so important because this is relevant for a diving species, because these atypical shapes of erythrocytes can impact the oxygen storage capacity and for essential activities for California sea lions, such as diving and foraging. So this is part of my contribution to science.
Wow, that's just so amazing. I feel like the connection that you made to animals and then humans was very, very interesting, because there's a lot of people and a lot of population here that does suffer from the disease that you said, which was anemia. Can
you say it again?
Yes, anemia.
Familia, like.
Oh, anemia, like the
anemia. Yeah. Anemia.
Yes.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes. No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, and I just thought that it was interesting because I also have anemia. So
Oh,
like it was just good to like see how it's being related to animals as well and how they and how this like affects their population and their physical abilities as well. It's just amazing to me.
oh,
But
thanks.
yeah, but do you think that moving forward, would there be like a different twist to this project that you might want to discover or dive into?
Um, I'm not sure that I understand the question, so could you please repeat it, please?
Yes. Is there something else that you would be more likely to like delve into after completing this project? Or like how would you um what are some other options or other segments of this project that you would like to delve more into?
Oh, yeah. One of I really was interested in those atypical um, morphologies of erythrocytes. I guess for me, it was like so um, awesome to find some of these kind of shapes, because, for example, in adults in other terrestrial mammals, finding those atypical shapes is always related to a pathological condition or a disease, but it's not clear um, where are the factors that impact the morphology during the very early stage of development in humans and even in dogs and in California in marine mammals too. So there's a couple of hypotheses that it could be related to the like spleen maturations or the like switch to the hemoglobin synthesis or even the variations in oxygen pressure variations intrauterine and extrauterine. So there's several like conditions, but it's not clear why these erythrocytes uh, present this kind of variations in morphology. So I guess for me is one of the interest in research.
Okay. Um, do you, to you, I know this is like a bit of a 180, but to you, what would diversity and inclusion mean?
Um, for me, diversity acknowledges that there are different characteristics among human beings, and all of these characteristics are valid. And inclusions, on the other hand, recognize that diversity has a positive impact on the environment and enabling the generation of knowledge from different perspectives. Um, but I guess there's an additional element that is the equity that take into account the differences or the different conditions of the diversities and the different obstacles that individuals face in order to provide the same access to opportunity. So I guess, and I can see that diversity and inclusion and equity are not present for in a scientific community. And let me give you an example. Some of calls for full-time professor researcher positions has a lot of requirements that are not compatible with the, for example, motherhood. And there's a a great list that is related with the production. For example, with the production with a number of papers, previously year of experience in teaching, thesis advising, and having like funding research, conference, participation in books. So many things that being a mom is not possible. It's not possible to like afford all of these activities. And the list of qualification make it so the position is not accessible to certain groups of people, such as mothers. And this application doesn't take into account that mothers has a lot of characteristics that can really can enrich the environment. And I guess in terms of diversity and inclusion and equity, there's a lot of work to do.
Do you think that maybe we should do something in our workplaces to enable women to have more inclusion in their workforce, or just programs to maybe make them feel safe to bring their kids, or have small programs like that to work?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I guess that it's important to provide like a health environment, and take into account that moms, we are not able to spend the whole day in like these kind of activities, and recognizing that we have other responsibilities. And also, I guess, provide something like daycares near to the workplace, and really in flexible schedules, and try to change the ways that about evaluation, not just in terms of the number of certain of the requirements, just the quality of those requirements and the impact of this of the research, of the ideas. And yeah, I guess those some ideas I have about it.
Yeah, and then you said that you had 3 beautiful kids.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Would sometimes, don't you just wish that you could spend more time with them instead of being at work, or like, just maybe if you had some programs where you can take them to work and then feel safe, or have a peace of mind that they're with you. I feel like what you said just adds to that, because it does make a difference to have a very healthy and workplace, sorry. Yeah, for moms to bring their kids to. So yeah, that was an excellent point. Yeah, and so have you had any challenges in the scientific community, and how has that impacted your professional development?
Yes, I have several challenges, but I guess I would like to start saying that in the scientific community, there's a phrase that in Spanish goes, 2 años fuera de la ciencia y estás fuera. That in English is something like 2 years outside of the scientific community and you're out or you're done. And for one side, this phrase completely disregard the experiences of mothers. But to the other side, reflect that what is important for scientific community and the scientific communities prioritize the production of several academic products instead of the creativity and the efficiency. And those creative approaches that push boundaries. And in my case, I took a break in my scientific career during 4 years. So because I focus on my children's, and that had an impact on my resume, because in my resume doesn't appear for 4 years, so it's a lot of time. But it doesn't mean that I didn't anything, just it doesn't mean that I was focused on my kids, but my capacity of make questions, to lead a project, to do other things that enrichment the scientific community is still there. And so for this, I had to find my own path. And it was hard, but at the but then I went to the people who really knows me and respect me. And thankfully, I found a place, and I want to say thanks to the Dr. Gallo Reynoso, because he gave me the opportunity to re-entry to the scientific community after this a long break for my scientific career. And I started my postdoctoral research like 6 months ago, and I've been enjoying it so much this stage of my professional development, because I don't have to choose between my professional career and my motherhood, as my research show that hostile environments for California's lion moms really impact the way they will, the females will like take care of their pups. So it's the same in the scientific community. Hostile environments really impact the way mothers will develop the science and also the motherhood. So this has as a consequence that we have to choose, and we usually choose our families. And I guess we and this like kind of choose represent losing of this kind of diversity. Our like ideas, our way to work, it's losing. So
yeah, I think you do an amazing job just like bridging animals and humans together. I think it's just so amazing. Your analogies are just superb.
Yeah, it's also amazing. So it's a good example about
Yeah,
it.
I can tell how much you love your work, because you can tell. And I'm just so glad you found a place where you get to carry forward your passions and also focus on being a mom too. I think that's very, very precious.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um, um, okay. So actually, you mentioned how you took a very different path. And what would you let me backtrack. What would be your message to the young scientists who are looking up to you? And what would you tell them about taking a different path? Would it be something that, it's encouraged, or what would be your take on just taking a different path and not following what everyone else does?
I will take the new like generations not normalize phrases like 2 years out of science and you're out. And they can find their own path, and they will find a good place to work, and in a place where they don't have to choose, and they don't have to choose between their personal life and their professional development. So, and they always have present that the science needs a lot of creativity and a lot of efficiency and like a passion and love for like being everything. I mean, science or do everything they want.
Yeah, just take it one day at a time and explore your passions and be unique, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they will find a good place to work.
Yes, that's an excellent message. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and just being with us and sharing your incredible story and your journey on Voices of Science. I think your story is just so amazing, and I feel honored to talk to you.
Thank you so much. And again, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it so much. And well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.